Hello everybody, I'm Simon Lore and welcome back to the only series which mixes the stories of Magic the Gathering with their physical cards you can win, here on Friday Night Lore. For this week's FNL topic, I went back and I looked at some of the most requested cards in the comments of last week's episode. As much as it might pain me to do so, I've decided to have this week's topic be on the Dragonlord Atarka. This video pains me so not because I'm doing her lore, but because, by the end of the week, I know I'll have to part ways with this amazing card, for one of you lucky viewers will win it. All tears aside, let's look at the story of Dragonlord Atarka. In an age before the fall of Ugin, or the time-traveling mischief of Sarkhan, there was a huge dragon with antlers which flew over the tundra of the Temur clan on Tarkir. Her body gave off a great heat, and her horns shined bright red, all knew of her destructive fiery breath. More famous than this dragon's fire was her hunger. She was known as the World Render, for it was believed by the Temur that this dragon would eventually devour the entire plane. The snowy tundra and mountains of Tarkir made perfect hunting grounds for this ferocious eater, giving her ample space and prey to hunt. This dragon was named Atarka. Atarka was not a picky eater. She fed on mammoths, yeti, saber-toothed cats, and even the lowly clansmen of the Temur, yet they barely counted as a snack towards her hunger. She would spend all her days hunting, all her nights hunting, and when she wasn't hunting, she was either thinking of her next hunt or stalking her next meal. It's easy to say that Atarka basically only cared about one thing: food. For the Temur of the past, who were led by the shaman known as Yasova Dragonclaw, Atarka's diet was starting to get a little out of hand. More and more of her clan were being devoured by this dragon and her brood, and the tempest storms of her dragons only seemed to be getting worse. For generations, the Temur fought valiantly against this beast who treated them as nothing more than appetizers. While the clan and their Khan found some victories in defeating her broodlings, none were ever able to stand against Atarka herself. A time came when the future seemed so bleak that Yasova began seeking aid from another dragon. Well, technically a dragon spirit which talked to her through her mind, but still a dragon all the same. This spirit would not give its name, but it did however show her a future where dragons on Tarkir had gone extinct, and her people ruled over all. Yasova wanted badly for this vision to become reality, so she began following the instructions of this dragon spirit. This spirit was in fact Nicobolus, and Yasova was instructed to lead the dragon planeswalker to the spirit dragon, Ugin. Once this was accomplished, Nicobolus would kill Ugin, the dragon tempest would cease, and the dragons would eventually become extinct. And in the original timeline of Tarkir, this became a reality. Ugin was defeated, and Atarka and her brood would fall to the might of the savage Temur. Yet, not all of the vision came true. The Temur would not rule all of Tarkir, but rather, the plane would be locked in a brutal and endless war between the 5 clans. But, thanks to the time travel shenanigans of the planeswalker Sarkhan, this reality no longer came into being. Ugin was spared, and the dragons never died out. With Atarka firmly established in this new timeline, Yasova was forced to find another way to deal with the encroaching dragons feeding on her people. After years of fighting and losing, she no longer had the forces or the desire to continue her campaign against the dragons. Yasova was summoned to a council meeting between the 5 Khans of Tarkir. Each represented their clan, and all shared in her predicament. Yet, before a solution could be agreed upon, this meeting was interrupted by the combined efforts of the dragons Silumgar and Ojutai. Witnessing their last plan burn in acid and frost, Yasova fled the losing fight and headed back to her people. On her travels, she began thinking, could her people ever bend the knee to this dragon? Is there a way for her people to survive the hunger of Atarka? She knew that all hope would be lost if she stood to do nothing, or worse, decided to attack Atarka again. Her new strategy was going to be appeasement. With a hunting party, Yasova went out and brought down the biggest mammoth she could find. She brought this kill to the nest of Atarka, and when she arrived, she was greeted by a bellowing roar. Atarka appeared in front of the small party and readied her fire. Before the dragon could unleash her devastation, the hunting group made cover behind a huge boulder. Yasova peeked from behind the rock and noticed that Atarka had focused her fire onto the mammoth carcass and not her people. She watched as Atarka fed into the great feast, blood dripping down her sharp teeth and fur getting caught in her antlers. When it was all over, Atarka sluggishly flew off and perched herself atop her nest. She did not bother with the teamer, and they simply just walked away, which was currently unheard of. Yusova hoped that this feast was a sign made clear that the teamer were done fighting against Atarka and were ready to serve her. Her people would provide her with all the meals she desired, as long as she spares their lives and protects them from her own brood. Atarka seemingly agreed to these terms, and for generations to come, Atarka became the Dragonlord to the people who were once known as the Teamer. Atarka has an interesting story because, unlike the majority of the Dragonlords, she never really rules over the former clan which challenged her. She doesn't really care about ruling and never really calls herself the Dragonlord. In fact, she finds talking to be a waste of time, so she rarely even speaks to her new followers. It seems that this Dragonlord simply only cares about being fed. As long as these new providers of food keep to their quota, she won't have any issues with them. She protects them from her own brood, and thus, the teamer treat her kind with respect. The people who follow Atarka see her as a force of nature, an ideology which governs their very beliefs as a culture. It's been so long that many in this group have forgotten the teamer name and know only of the Dragonlord Atarka. So, there you go guys, the lore behind Dragonlord Atarka. I apologize if her story seems a little light, but it's hard to read into a character who barely even talked to the group that follows her. But in any case, this is a fantastic card, and now it's time for you to enter for your chance to win a copy of it. As with all my Friday Night Lore giveaways, to enter, all you have to do is subscribe to this channel and leave a comment on this video. Comments will be collected over the next week, and the winner will be chosen at random using a number generator. The winner will also be announced at the end of next week's Friday Night Lore episode, so make sure you tune in to see if you've won. So moving on, let's announce the winner of last week's Friday Night Lore giveaway. If you recall, last week's topic was on Zurgo Bellstriker, and so that was the card everyone who commented on that video entered to win. Now, the winner of last week's Friday Night Lore and this new Zurgo Bellstriker card is Mr. SodaPop85. Congratulations to the YouTube user Mr. SodaPop85. Please, check your private messages on YouTube for a message from me. There, you'll find all the details needed for me to send you this card. The sooner you reply to that message, the faster I can have this card shipped out to you. I hope you all enjoyed this week's Friday Night Lore. If you did enjoy the video, please give it a like, share, and subscribe to the channel. These things go a long way in helping me provide future content. As always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.